We are live at Studio B. This is your day-to-day BYU Sports play-by-play. Happy Friday, everyone. I'm Spencer Linton alongside Jerem Jordan. This is how we do it. And right now, how we do it is by bringing in Jonathan Tavernari, former BYU basketball standout, longtime pro of the game, and an elite shooter. JT, welcome back to BYUSN. Happy Friday, man.
Hey, happy Friday to you guys as well. Great show so far.
Hey, we appreciate that.
Hey,
and
let's keep it going. Yeah, let's keep it going.
We have you on
It
to
can only get better now, right?
Exactly.
So automatically it's going to go through the roof.
Yes,
so.
Energy here. It's about to go to another level for sure. We've been discussing this hinge game for BYU against Texas and what a win would really mean for the course of the season and what a loss would do for this BYU team and how it would impact them in that way. So, I mean, JT, you've heard what Jerem and I said to a degree. What do you think this game means in terms of what it will mean for the course of BYU's season?
And I said this after we lost on Tuesday. And again, great Houston team, right? But it's we're so close to getting to finishing up these games, regardless of how you play in the first or the second half. But to me, it's monumental. It is, it is a must-win game. And I say that because you have, I think I was counting 5 home games, and this is one of them. You are, 2-4 in conference right now, and you need to get to, 19, 20 wins. I think if you get to 19 wins, 20 wins, you're borderline guaranteed to be in the NCAA tournament. But how are you going to get, these next 5-6 wins? And you're going to have to go on the road and steal one, maybe 2. But the game on Saturday, tomorrow, it's such a monumental game for BYU season because you have to make up from the loss that you had against Cincinnati. That the way that you dropped that game, and I know, hey, first game, conference game, anything can happen, but BYU is going to have to make up that game. And is it going to be, beating Texas at home? Is it going to be, we know it's not going to be at Kansas State or at Kansas, right? And as you look at what they have on the schedule, they have, at West Virginia, at Oklahoma. When are you going to make up that win? And then maybe at Baylor at home. And so they're going to have to make up a game. And now it's becoming a little bit more, like you said, Spencer, BYU is going to be 3-4, but where's that win is going to come from? And Jerem's point that, I think we've all kind of been built in on, who is going to get to that 19-20 win to be able to, by the end of the regular season. And so we're kind of running out of time. So I think tomorrow's game is absolutely monumental.
We've been saying like 7-11 is probably the minimum threshold, right? If we're just talking like what's the minimum. So, 5 more wins. Oklahoma State, you hope you can get them twice. Right now, worst team in the league, but still, to me, they're not a bad team. Like in the WCC, they'd be the 3rd or 4th best team.
Are there any bad teams?
No bad teams. No bad teams. UCF at home, you need to win that game. And then 2 more. Texas at home, is it 1 on the road, like at West Virginia? Like, what's the other game? You got to win some games that maybe you go in and think, oh, we got lucky. We made a play down the stretch. And BYU can do it. BYU's not been blown out in any of these games. Like you said, they haven't finished well in a couple of them. You're up 17 at Texas Tech, who right now in the conference standings is number 1. So you gotta finish it. Some of that is fouls and free throws, like I talked about. I don't need BYU to change these numbers drastically, but they do need to be improved. BYU's a 3-point shooting team. They're not going to get to the line as much as a lot of other teams. So what would you recommend in terms of what BYU needs to do they don't need to change holistically who they are, and it won't happen, but to be just a little better in the fouls and free throw department?
I'm going to tell you on my boss, by the way, huge Sports Nation fan. Shout out to my boss. You don't need to change drastically things. We just need to tweak a little bit here and there. And to me, watching these games, BYU is so close. The one thing that I would probably say, you guys were mentioning before, some of the tough shots that they're taking from 3, you got to take the good with the bad. But if I were to try to tweak a few things, I would focus on maybe at certain times of the game, let's play inside out a little bit more. And there are times that that they run the weave, right? And that's all they do. they don't look to go inside. Now, listen, I know that it's hard to play Atiki and Ali Khalifa and Foos and just play through them 40 minutes. I get it. But at a point in time, even if it's just for a dribble handoff or it's just to create something on the weak side or to generate something, we have to get the ball in a post more. Again, I'm not saying to get the ball in a post more to actually, hey, go make a move, go get a bucket. I'm not saying that, right? Ali can do it. The best one there is Foos, but we all know he's not 100%. You can see it, right? Stevie Wonder can see that Foos is not 100%. And so I think the focus is play in and out so you can create things that make your life easier on the weak side. And so even if you just have to put the ball to Atiki, and we're not going to want Atiki to go in 15 times a game, go get a bucket, but get the ball to him. Maybe have him take a dribble, do a handoff with Dallin on a movement. Maybe he can skip to the other side. He can play with Jackson. That was probably going to be the one thing that I would personally focus on to create more space. Again, you can't change who you are, right? Can you shoot less threes? Where when you have Trevin Nell, one of the best shooters in the country, you have Jackson Robinson coming off the bench, knocking down threes left and right. When you have Spencer Johnson, just an incredible sharp shooter. When you have Richie Saunders, when you have Ali Khalifa that can knock down threes. Dallin is also a solid shooter. You don't change your identity, but you figure out ways where you can make the entire game, easier to just be able to get to your sweet spots. I think that's what's missing a little bit, especially down the stretch. It's ball to Dallin, just have him penetrate and attack. Well, try to create a little bit more movement, so you can get the defense maybe falling asleep on the weak side, on a reverse, on a swing.
JT, you're a man who can appreciate an aggressive mindset shooting the three because you lived and died by that. You thrived at it several times.
We'll do it, by the way.
Hey.
Just make sure that we know that. So,
Mark Pope said specifically he doesn't want to harp as much on his guys about, taking bad threes because he says it's so nuanced. He wants them to remain confident and aggressive. So how would you approach that conversation? Because he did admit there were probably 7 or 8 possessions where we didn't make the defense work hard enough, essentially saying we can find a better three-point shot than we ended up taking. So how would you approach that conversation with this BYU basketball team to try and rein it in a little bit, but not affect their aggression and their confidence?
I would think, I would try to expand the way that they are playing and how they're getting those 3-pointers to how I said, get a little bit of a touch post or maybe do something where the ball can go inside and move out. Right now, there's not a ton of movement, or better yet, I don't want to generalize it. The times that BYU is dangerous, the times that BYU go on a run is because they get easy stops and they get buckets, right? But the times that they are successful, what is one of the main things that they do? The ball goes inside the paint, it goes close to the basket, and then it moves out. And you can do that in multiple ways. You can do that by penetration. You can do that by, post touches. So what I would focus on is say, look, we don't want to take away, a lot of people call it irrational confidence, right? We don't want to take away that from you. And I get it. They don't want to take it away. But let's then not force a 3-pointer. Let's maybe possessions try to penetrate, try to play through the post. Spencer Johnson is a solid post-up player. Now, I'm not going to compare Spencer to Lee Kamard. I'm not going to compare Spencer to maybe Tyler Hawes. I think that would be unfair, right? But Spencer can do that, and we've seen him do it. So a few times, instead of Jackson shooting a 3-pointer, right, from between the 3-point line and the logo, maybe let's get him back to the basket where he can do a little fadeaway, a little fadeaway jumper. Let's get the ball to Richie on a post. Let's do different things so that instead of forcing a tough 3-pointer, we're maybe looking at another possession first. Like I said, a lot of times it feels like they're doing the weave on top of the 3-point line just a ton, and they're not really getting anywhere. It looks like they're just swinging the ball from side to side without a purpose to attack, to be able to, to be able to engage, and really get on the pick and roll. Dallin does amazingly where he gets the pick and roll, he puts the defender on his back, and then he just waits so he can dish it out. But a lot of times, the defenses are very good and they're prepared. So maybe not necessarily playing the pick and roll, but other ways of let's put somebody back to the basket. You don't have to go and just, get a shot off on that possession, but let's swing it through. I think about the different possessions where Dallin can get to the lane and they make 2 or 3 quick passes. They get an open shot. I look back and I don't remember against who it was, but Ali, I think it was against UCF on the road. Right after the second half started, the ball went to the post. Ali took a couple of dribbles. People actually came and double and maybe help out a little bit. He made an extra pass. That passer gave him a hockey assist. Somebody had a wide open 3-point shot. I don't know if it was Trav, it was Spence, but that's to me what's missing from BYU, that it would be so much easier to have naturally if Foose was back 100% of the time playing 20, 30 minutes a game. He is not. So then how can the coaching staff get a little bit more creative to generate these post touches to get the defense off balance?
Jonathan Tavernari is on BYU Sports Nation. We'll finish with this, JT. I believe that if BYU beats Texas tomorrow and they're 3-4 in conference at the end of January, they're right on track. That's what I had projected them as from the get-go when Big 12 play began, probably 3-4. Are you in agreement that if they are 3-4, they're on track, or are they behind or maybe ahead of schedule of where you expected BYU to be?
Definitely not ahead. I will say this. I think the loss to Cincinnati, and it's something that both of you engage with me on Twitter. That loss to Cincinnati, to me, I hope it doesn't come back to haunt them, because that's one of the teams that, much like Oklahoma State, you expect to win at home. I will say that they're kind of right on track. They might, need to steal a game or so. But there's a lot of basketball to be played, right? There is, like I said, after Texas, we are at West Virginia, at Oklahoma. Can you maybe steal one at West Virginia? I mean, that would be huge. But Kansas and UCF at home, you're probably going to go 1-1. And then at Oklahoma State, to Jerome's point, you're going to have to win that. At Baylor at home, if they don't win against Texas, the Baylor win becomes a absolutely must-win game. And you don't want to have that pressure, especially against that Baylor team. And then at Kansas State, at Kansas, I don't see that being a productive trip, but that's just me. Hopefully they have good barbecue in Kansas or something else, because I don't think there's going to be much winning done. And then you go and you have TCU at home. You got to win that one. You go to Iowa State. We're going to call that the Richie Saunders game. And so, but then at Oklahoma State at home, you're going to absolutely have that to win that. And so, to your point, Spence, I think that they're going to be on track, but they can't really afford another miss, let alone 2.
JT, great to talk with you. For the record, and we mentioned this on the show, BYU 79% chance to win according to ESPN's Basketball Power Index. Be very interested to see what the Vegas insiders have to say when that line comes out. But BYU is, for now, a favorite at home, and to your point, got to take care of business. Great to talk to you, my friend. We'll do it again soon.
Hey, I feel like I'm the winner today. Get to hang out with both of you for a little bit. So
hey.
I hope you guys have a great weekend, and always and forever go Cougs.
You got it.
Follow, amigo.
Jonathan Tavernari on BYU Sports Nation. He had to sneak a little Portuguese in there, yeah?
Wasn't that